No one's going to write your story for you. You can pick that pen up or you can let it sit. My name is Petra Wilkes. I'm a therapist. I help people figure out how to live, how to make the most of what they're going through. I am a licensed mental health counselor, to be exact, and I'm also a candidate for licensure for marriage and family therapy.
Tell me a little bit about Sage Grove.
Sage Grove is an extension of Sage and Lore. My private practice is called Sage and Lore, and that means wisdom via storytelling. And I'm a narrative therapist, so I care very much so about the way people tell their stories. And Sage Grove is a way to understand your story before I met you. There are a lot of values inventories out there, but they stop right at what do you value? And that's it. You have a list and you roll with it. And that's it. And I'm like, oh, well, what happens next? How do I use these values? What do they do? Like, how do I build a life with these values? And so I created Sage Grove to hopefully fill that gap.
You didn't start here in your career. You started in the military?
I was a pre-law major before I joined the military. I used to teach high school. I've worn many hats. We're talking about stories. I got a lot of them. And so when I'm pushing students to do things, try something new, and one student's like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm teaching. He's like, yeah, but what else is on your list? And I was like, oh, I have things on my list. And so, began this whole process over 3 years that if he would apply to college, I would do something that was on my list. Not only did he apply, he got accepted. And so it was my turn, and one of them was the military. And I was like, I'm going to go. I've always wanted to go. I'm just going to go. So I did. I joined the Navy as an air traffic controller. So that's what I did. I joined the military and I did that. When I got out of the military, I needed therapy. And when I got up off of that couch, metaphorically and literally, I knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Got a triple master's, and so marriage and family therapy, clinical counseling, and for those who care, religion. And that's how my journey came to opening Sage and Lore, and then pursuing more with Sage Grove.
What are some examples of things that you took away from your military service, that lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I had lived a whole lot of life before I joined the military. I was 29 when I joined, and so I was the oldest. And so I learned a different kind of pressure. I was already a parent by the time I went, so there were a lot of different things at play there. I think I learned how important it was to authentically be who I am and to carry my whole story with me forward. And I think that that's something that the military taught me was important, to be all of who I am in a space, and to speak up for what is right, to stand up for that, not just to speak it, but to stand up for it. And sometimes you wind up standing up alone, which is what the Navy has a slogan. It drew me, and I was like, I love these values and I want to be a part of that story. So I learned that in the military. I learned hard work, but then I learned about the communicative hard work, like you're communicating and it is important for your entire community. It's a collectivist type of hard work. That was different because I had just been living my life doing my own thing until I got to the military, and it was like, oh, it's a us thing. Oh, that's different. So I learned a lot about community and culture and a shared vision, a shared goal.
Sage Grove is not only for individuals, you also have purpose for this in an organizational framework, right?
Oh, absolutely. So we work with teams within organizations because a lot of people are purchasing team building, packets and iterations, and they're trying to drive something and it isn't working. Like Sage Grove is this process where everyone is in this framework, and it isn't just make a list and we hang a poster. It's more than that. It's make a list, hang a poster, and when you come to individual supervision, we're going to employ these values and we're going to use them to help increase awareness and increase our relationship. And, but how can I help empower people to do that and show I care at the exact same time? And so Sage Grove, I think, is useful for helping people do exactly that.
Let's take that a step further, Ian. You're finding that you're working with, say, a senior executive. They've got a goal, a mission. How does that translate in the civilian world?
I think leaders innately are born that way, right? Like, I think they have that even from jump. They know they want to tell everybody what to do. They've got the big picture focus. But I think sometimes leaders struggle with how to translate that over to people who don't have a big picture view. And I think Sage Grove is a way to help. Some of you go to those staff meetings and leaders have a vision, they explain it, it sounds really great. It's like, but what do we do with it? And I think leaders know what they want to see as the result, But sometimes I think there's a gap between what I want to see as a result and what I'm explaining to you. It's the workspace. Sage Growth is a way to help not only pinpoint what this corporation's values are, but connect them to personal values of these individuals that I'm hoping are going to share my dream and my vision with me and execute it. And if we have the same language and we have the same framework, not just here's our goal, here's our mission, but here are the steps to how we're going to do that. And when we get lost, what anchors us back? It's our shared values, right? And it's that process, I think, that brings the whole person to the work. And I think that's what they're really wanting as leaders, for you to bring your whole self to the process. And I think it's hard to do that if you don't know what you're caring about at the job besides money, because people care about more than money.
What kinds of organizations come to you and need this kind of service?
Small teams to large teams, they all need this process because they're all looking for a way to motivate their people to be engaged, and we're looking for return on investment. Like, so many corporations are stuck. Have a great idea. Oh, we have a problem. Oh, let's talk about how we're going to make a decision. Well, we could be 3 weeks on emails back and forth about how we're going to make this decision. But Sage Grove isn't just a values deck. It also comes with a decision-making process, a framework to help you not only just say, what are we caring about if we decide we're going to make this decision as a corporation? What are our values and which one of these decisions align with that? And it's a way to help you do more than just conceptualize, but get to the work and do it quickly without having to go back and forth.
So you're finding an efficiency to get them where they need to be.
And not just that efficiency, but a consistency across the messaging. You're not making a decision that does not automatically align with what you say you value. It's automatically launching from what you say you value. What am I caring about if I decide to do that? What are the values that we are employing? What is the story that we're telling ourselves in the organization? Does that align? And if it doesn't, then we don't make the decision.
How would you go about assessing the corporate culture? What are your steps that you take to?
I want to go back. I want to know what decisions you made before. I want to know what it cost you. And then I want to know what you said your values were in the beginning. And then I'm going to see if they align with what you say they are now. And then that's a really great spot to see, oh, did your story just change and you didn't recognize it was changing, right? And is that why? But this system will let me know what you're valuing and what you're caring about, because values change, right? Like, they're not static. But if we don't know we've changed our values and we're still launching from some other framework, then that's a really great spot.
What's that next step? What is how do you realign to your values?
They may be changing for a reason. So a story matters. What was happening that caused you to change your story without even recognizing it, right? Because that matters. Did something else come up as a priority? And if so, and there's a legitimate reason that this value has changed, then what is the story around this current value? Because that could be a pain point you didn't even recognize, right? You could have just switched up your priorities in that moment, didn't communicate that with anyone, and then you're trying to figure out what happened.
How do you move them from that insight to like measurable change?
Because when you identify your value, you're also identifying your story. That matters for everything. And when we know that story, that's going to guide the decisions that you make, making sure every decision aligns with that story. When you get out of balance, as we call it, ecosystem, equilibrium disruption, we're caring about that. If we're disrupting our ecosystem, it better be for a reason, because everything's at risk, right? Unless we have a process for what we're doing. So once I identify what the value is, what you're hoping for, and then we watch for the decision-making rewards, right? We watch for the return on investment. Let's see the results of this decision. We watch for the next decision, and then we begin to see a process. People stop moving and start thinking and talking before they move, right? Like, they're no longer just making random decisions and hoping it works out. They stop and say, oh, let me see. And they start telling their story. And the more you do that, the more that becomes the norm.
For a leader that's out there that, they've got their own narrative, what's a myth in that narrative that probably needs to be debunked?
I tell people all the time that people have a right not to value what you value. And they have a right to value what they value. Your employees are not yours to control and make value what you value. The performance, all these things are going to tank because they're going to tell you, I don't value what you value. And that's where we start. Instead of taking it personally, you realign as a leader and say, why are my values so starkly different from my people who are the reflection of my organization, right? Like, get the full story. People don't want to align with their employees. They don't think that that's what they should be doing. I say it is. I think leaders sometimes don't value complementary values. They think people have to absolutely line up with their value. I might not, though, but I might have a complementary value that you are caring about.
What is the steps for a CEO, business leader who needs to modify their culture. What does that look like, and how does your process help them?
It's honest discussions, right? It's honesty. As leaders, I think one of the first things we learn is we do not know it all. And how can we explain to other people what we want, right? How can we keep them involved in the vision? And I think part of the struggle is looking within myself and saying, am I getting the results I want? And if not, this isn't a judgment, right? Like people have this phrase everybody's using, we listen and we don't judge. I listen and I don't judge. I could care less about what you don't have. What I want to know about is what you want. And what are you willing to change? What are you willing to do as a leader? If I give it brutally, then you're not going to take it anyway. And I've probably wounded this relationship in a way that I might not be able to repair. With Sage Grove, it is a gentle way of having deep conversations that don't unmask everyone in a way that feels really uncomfortable, but also don't overexpose people in a way that keeps them from hearing. It's easier for an employee to hear, oh, improvement.
What kind of organization are you trying to build? What is that?
I want to be disruptive. And so because I really value rebellion, it is one of my values. And so the kudzu vine is a vine that will spread and nothing is going to contain it. I think rebellion is necessary. I think that's why people become leaders. That's why they try and iterate. They're trying to go against something. They're trying to start something new. Because I value rebellion, I value the idea that we take a look and say, is what we're doing working just because we've been doing it for so long? When you get to a place of calm, right, and like you're no longer in distress, now let's talk about these values. Now let's come up with a system to help you not only see yourself, but to see your future self, right? Like Sage Grove helps you see the whole storyline. And then as the author of that story, you're no longer passively, I play video games, so, we're not non-playable character, in this story. We are involved. I'm not an NPC, I'm in it. And I get to pick this pen up and say, what do I want for my future? And you don't need me, the therapist, to lead you there. Your values can lead you there. That's what you can depend on in between sessions is, I know what I want for my life.
What's the cost of waiting instead of diving in something?
It's the same as it is anywhere. An untold story is an untold story burning inside of you. The sitting with the idea of silence, right? Emily Dickinson, hope is the thing with feathers that flutters in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Like, I love that quote because that is what happens to an untold story. It isn't fluttering inside of you. It's silent. When you're in that space of duress and you need therapy, when you've come to a place of calm and you are no longer in distress, now what? And that's the gap that Sage Grove fills. Now I want to know what I value because I'm not worried about loneliness anymore. I'm not worried about not fitting in with other people anymore. I'm not doom scrolling with every free moment that I have. I'm not looking at other people live a life I wish I was living. The Grove says, hey, you've got all these things sitting over here that you have not tended to. Are you ready to be a Grove tender? Are you ready to get involved in your own story, right? And so that is what we are offering people, the opportunity to not sit passively in your own life, but to be a part of your own story.
What's the legacy that you hope that your company leaves behind?
My story has always been very, very difficult to tell and to live, right? And I needed a way to come to an acceptance of all the parts of my story, the good and the bad. And I wanted that to be in a way that allowed me permission to, as we have a tagline at Sage and Lord, turn the page, write your story, change your life. I wanted that. And I want to be able to leave that as permission for everyone. If you re-engage with your story and you realign with what you say you value and you come back to who you are. The fire poppy, it's a plant that only blooms after a wildfire. Wildfires destroy, but after that comes this beautiful blooming. And if nature has gotten that figured out, how useful is that to someone who feels like the world is burning down around them, right? It's that legacy that I want to leave. This idea, like innately you know what is useful for your story. You're looking for someone to give you permission. That's useful for someone to get them started, but that's not all there is. And I want to be a part of filling what's next.
What's one thing you'd want to leave the audience with?
No one's going to write your story for you. You can pick that pen up or you can let it sit.
Petra Wilkes, thank you very much.
Thank you.